And welcome back. Picking where we left off last time in Fields of Glory Empires. Our siege is, well, it didn't progress this last turn, but we're still sitting at 2 of 3 unbreached walls. The Samnites have not, or the Samniums from Umbria here have not come out of Umbria to attack any of our provinces, so that's fine. Gambling doesn't give us, well, it'll give us loyalty, but we're not really desperate for loyalty. We're going to be more desperate for loyalty when we're starting to move towards being a tier 3 government. Right now we're in a tier 4, tier 2 government. I might go expert stonecutter. Either that or training ground. We'll do training ground because it will just be a refresh of the slot. We're making culture there, we're making production there. Okay, everything looks fine. No new decisions. No new regional decisions. Well, no new useful regional decisions for the moment. So we'll cycle the turn. The siege continues. Okay, the Samnites have come down to attack one of our exposed provinces. It is an exposed province, so you're going to see they do outnumber the garrison. The garrison is just 3 urban militia. And they do have professional troops, so they're going to quickly mop our militia. The militia had walls they'd hold out for much longer, but that's fine. Now, of the 82 nations, we have about, our culture decadence ratio is about 39. So that's actually about where we want to, so we don't need to raise culture anymore. If anything, we want to raise culture from sources that are not citizens, so we can move the citizens to do other things. Pass a law to increase land taxes. Okay, we don't need to do that right away. Made a diversion which enabled one of the breached walls to be repaired. Okay. Okay, so we might just back off and the siege progress has been undone. I'd actually rather overrun Samian over here. So let's go marching up to deal with them instead. Think of Arena. Oh, it's going reasonably well. I notice it's being a little bit more clogged today. Sword Throat's doing a little better otherwise. Arm wouldn't be too bad. Clear one wouldn't be too bad either. So we can go theater just for the culture. I only just started playing a few months ago. Because you didn't want to shell out the money for kingdoms. Well, I haven't shelled out the money for kingdoms. This is Empires. This is Fields of Glory Empires. Which is the previous game made by the same devs as Field Glory's Kingdoms. I felt like playing Romance, so we're playing Empires today. But yes, I do know what game you're talking about when you bring up Field Glory Kingdoms. It's been money, or it's been metal to acquire money or manpower. So that's what we will do. Basically popping up because we have too much metal. We're going to turn that metal into money. Well, I hope you've been enjoying it. I tend to like it. I'm not necessarily like good at it, but I tend to enjoy it. So smokehouse. Or can go. Oh, we'll go expert stonecutter here for more infrastructure. Because we also want to get access to the tier 2 buildings if we can for the infrastructure category. So if they didn't have walls here, we probably wouldn't want to attack into the mountains with their troops. Because they have walls, they will probably take shelter behind their walls. So let's go ahead and continue. Yeah, they did take shelter behind their walls. Large population of armed warriors accompanied by family cattle from Murtanium. I've been seeing converging towards... Okay. That's fine. Like Dictator, we don't need to. This siege will be quick. Okay, so we can sit here and siege these guys down. It should go pretty well. And yeah, we'll do Corey here. 2 nearby structures will produce more money. Good to see. Yeah, no appropriate targets for Bolster Colony. Between size 1 and 5. And Italy at the moment, even the provinces aren't necessarily nations at the beginning of the game, are apparently too big for that. So we'll just continue the siege. Yeah, the trade in the game does take quite a bit to get used to. It's also really powerful if you're used to it. If you're kind of ignoring it, it could be sort of like you're making no money, and suddenly you're making lots of money because you don't understand what's going on. And then the culture to decadence ratio is a mechanic that's interesting to work around. It's not necessarily an anti-blobbing mechanic, but rather it's an taking lots of territory that isn't developed mechanic. Okay, so we've gotten up into the progressing tier. We've already picked up a couple of aging tokens, so we'll very happily take some progress tokens before I start to reduce culture. So we got the large farm, which is upgrade to the farm. So it doesn't take any extra slots, it's just a pure upgrade here. Could do that. We're going to do... Well, actually, no, we'll take the large farm because it is an upgrade to existing building. Swap over them to making food. You want to be making more money. I think we're well, actually, yeah, we probably do want to make more. So we'll swap the citizen over to making money. Here we're making enough money. Theater for culture. Making enough food, so then we swap here for money making. Yeah, you can blob a little bit if you pumped up your culture. The other way is be picky about what you're taking, right? So more valuable land is often worth it from a culture standpoint, because then you can take other people's culture. It also depends on the scenario, right? So some of the scenarios, I forget, I think there's a wonder over here, if you know where it is. The Tower of Babel, for example. Right, there's various buildings around the map that are worth culture that you can go take over. Like, you can blob if you're careful. And to some degree, you need to take a place before you can make the culture buildings there to make it worth taking the place. So it's not so much an anti-blobbing mechanic, but more a don't blob chaotically mechanic. Because otherwise you end up having to focus all the new construction on culture buildings real quickly. Or you have to do things like I have here in Rome, where I've got lots of citizens working on culture. And probably for what I want right now, they'd be better off working infrastructure or money or whatever, right? Siege is going well. Let's keep sieging then. Ulster colony is an option. Build a harbor is an option. So let's get a harbor built. The first harbor building is a slot 0 item. So it does make sense to tend to build that everywhere. The second tier, less so, it takes up a slot. Then the third tier, which you can upgrade it to, is a tier 2 building that takes up a slot. So that one's actually decent, again, to build. And the mechanic. Position-wise... So I could trade off the manpower for money again. Let's do that. Okay, still in the progressing tier. I may actually want to progress up to Glorious Republic at this point. Developed infrastructure. Produce one or more. Or produce more or gain instantaneously extra infrastructure. Okay, so in this case we have enough money to buy the extra construction materials, so we just will. Siege is going well. At this point we're going to order the assault. I'm not actually sure we're going to need to do the assault. They'll probably surrender on the next turn anyway. And our construction is still progressing. And yeah, so we didn't have to do the assault. They'd already surrendered by the time the troops were about to go in. Which of course meant we just took over the province, lowering our culture to decadence ratio, which is fine. That's one of the reasons why I want to get up to 1,000 income. We're going to just free some of the slaves. Oh, I don't have a Catholic, but that's fine. So, that's a decision we can do at some point. That wasn't specifically what I was actually thinking of, apparently. Okay, so we want to go specifically after that army in case that army moves. I think as long as we catch them any places in the mountains, we should be able to win that fight. We're going to make Campania here the province capital. We'll see if we're able to hold the rest of the province long enough for that to make a big difference. Street polars is not bad. Builder hole is not bad either. Let's go and pick that up. Building faster is always nice. Well, that was a long chase. This might not be the best of fights for us. Wasn't expecting our guys to chase them all the way back into their own territory. Battle ended in a draw. Okay, we did win that battle in the end. It was a lot closer run of a thing than I would have liked. We were hoping to actually fight them in our territory, so as a side effect, it did not quite go the way I wanted it to. We did just take one of our goals. So we got 1 progress token from that. This is the one I was trying to bring up. Go ahead and distribute slaves. Okay, so we're going to keep our army on the offense, even though it probably wants to regenerate a little bit. It looks like we mostly lost Velites. Lost our supporting Velites. So let's see if we can form up another 3 units of Velites. Quickly. Yeah. And I might actually splurge and go for another early Republican infantry. For construction reasons. And then we're going to progress in here, finish off the Samniums that we chased out of Arena, so we can win that war and that war. So we formed a larger province here. Provinces share their resources, so that means we can sort of specialize the provinces a little bit more, the territories across the province a little bit more than you would otherwise normally be able to do. If you had to have them territory by territory, because the territories obviously would then have to produce all their own food. Ooh, so here's a good situation. Do I want culture? Do I want food? Already slightly specialized this one in food, because we've got the 3 food. We do also need culture. I'm going to go culture here, because we just need to get the culture sorted out sooner rather than later. We'll go with Clearwater here. Rome needs some health. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we wanted to have a decent amount of infrastructure buildings, is now we can pick up land expansion. This is a tier 2 building that gives you an extra slot, because instead of it costing a slot like a normal building, or being a 0 slot building, it's actually a negative slot building, so it gives you a slot. It does cost infrastructure to maintain, requires a certain number of population. It can later be upgraded to give an extra slot with land reclamation, which I believe is technically a tier 3 building. So that's a good building when it pops up. And that's one reason to necessarily want to build a road everywhere, or build public works everywhere. So I believe it has the public works as a prerequisite. Might even have a regional roads as a prerequisite. So as we can check. No, it isn't telling me that. I think it has roads as a prerequisite. And obviously you need 3 tier 1 infrastructure buildings to get access to a tier 2 infrastructure building. So yeah, we're gonna basically want to get a lot of our places up to production 3 early on. Rome in a lot of ways actually pulls you to build lots of buildings and pulls you in a lot of different directions at once. Because of the legionnaire abilities, which will probably start showing off in a bit. Let's cycle the turn. Unless I got something. No, you can see that's where we took Byzantium, which was one of our objectives. We got our progress token, and that's one of the reasons we want to take Alupa down there. Apilla down there is because it's where the progress token. Yeah, completely destroyed their army, which ends that nation. Ah, the wonders of walls. Nope, we're back up into progressing tier. And apparently got a progressing token for being in the progressing tier. Okay, so let's march to relieve the siege down there. Okay, I think we're going to take this Preceptor House. We'll be suffering for the fact that it needs Papyrus, which is going to be basically lose 15 money for a while. But that's one of the reasons why we're going to be prioritizing getting one of our provinces, or one of our territories, to tier 3 farm buildings real quickly. And so we can have a local source of Papyrus. Yeah, Herbalist isn't that bad. We'll let it finish Herbalist. You got sheep at the neighboring province, don't you, sheep? Worship place would do it if we had myrrh or frankincense. I suppose we can do the harbor building, or let's do the building here. We want some industry here as well. Oh, and we actually have enough that we can make Rome a province, so we'll make Rome a province. We'll build the Preceptor House here as well. Preceptor houses are the Law and Order buildings, or is the first tier of the Law and Order buildings, so we do want them everywhere. Even though Papyrus, the whole thing you like write stuff on, is not a cheap and available thing in the early game. Okay, march the troops for the relief offense. Forgot to send my Velite up to attach to the army. Whoops. So this is a little bit more of a fair fight than we'd want, but did get lucky and did win it. And yeah, because they're not an independent province, they're actually a nation, and they were driven back. The Sapphiras did escape to their province. And we got another progressing token. Seed and conquer the Feast Samnites, and now hope to have some peace in Rome as a reward. Rome gains 100 extra legacy points, and settlers will be sent to that colony. Cool. Plus 1 free population and a free farm in the mountains. Armenia here. Oh, and it didn't tell us that, but we got a colonia here, which is a Roman border farm. So we're actually going to split this guy off. This guy we're going to send around. His job is going to be to build public works and roads and stuff like that. So we've got a couple places that would want them. Aternus here and Aphitus here. So we'll send you off there for that purpose. These guys will go running off to join the army. Yeah, okay. The army will actually move to the province that doesn't have a garrison. Until the guys have regained their effectiveness, I don't want to go do the siege in case they sally. So we got a person, Urbana here. We don't actually need extra food in that state right now. We probably want to focus on getting a bit more of our construction done, so we're going to swap him over to construction. The province finished in Rome, which now means we're able to share food across the provinces a little bit better, which is good to see. Means we can swap a lot more over on to production. Like so. And then the building list is fine. That building list is fine. Okay. Let's do sanitation works to expand our sanitation stuff. Yeah, no regional decisions I want to do. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's see. Okay, we're still in a progressing tier. Okay, mute the mic to deal with the phone call. We're going to continue for at least a little bit. We're in the progressing tier, so that's good. Building development focus, regions suffer. Okay, I don't want to really make use of that in the moment. That can be reasonably strong, but it's not something to rush. So we'll see here, we have access to more. So instead of just having to spam there, we have access to more. We can build public works or the Roman camp using our Roman army here. Roman, one legionnaire by himself, will do it. This is one reason we also want to be banking decent income, so we can actually afford to be building these basically constantly. Right now we're going to focus on the public works, so we're going to start with the public works here. So he's going to be assigned to do the public works. Our army has reorganized, so let's go ahead and lay siege to the blue guys here before turning around and going up to deal with the green guys. Normally, if I was any other nation, because the other nations don't have their own ability to build roads, build public works everywhere, I'd go for the public works. We're going to go for farm here, because this is going to be the one we're going to focus on farming to get early papyrus. Could go farm here in Rome. Italia Superior probably does want more food, because we probably don't want people working food. We probably want food provided by buildings, but don't necessarily want to rush into that in Rome specifically. Slave markets are not bad. And then Latium, which is Rome itself. Do I want to upgrade the port there? Maybe. Or we could go for better health buildings. Or better... we'll go better culture. Early on, our thing's going to basically be liberating workers from having to do culture, from the culture to decadence ratio, balance mechanics, and trying to liberate them from food, so we can pick whether or not we need money or infrastructure, depending upon our needs. As we start to fill up our building slots, which we are starting to do in some places, we may then start redirecting them to making more people. Build a harbor. Still no targets for Bolster Colony. Bolster Colony is pretty nice, but we don't have any good targets for it. Oops. Question mark there. Didn't necessarily mean to do that. And then from a slave market standpoint, we probably want about 4 slave markets for game mechanic reasons. I think right now we only got 1. Because they're associated with how you move the slaves around. Whenever you win a battle, there's a chance you make a slave. If you don't have a slave market, they will go to your capital. If you have a slave market, they go to one of your slave markets instead. And then you can get a decision every once in a while to move as many of them as you have slave markets, up to 10, around the empire to sort of spread them out. I think it's up to 10. 4 or 10. I can double check when the event comes up again. Okay, so this siege might last a while. They are producing enough food in the city to feed themselves, so they're not going to give up anytime soon. Cult site for more culture is tempting. Yeah, we'll do cult site for more culture. Then we just built that road. Could have these guys build a Roman camp, which I will actually have them do. We'll build them a road camp there as well. But that'll put some walls there to help protect the province from them just walking, other people just walking in and taking it back. Sweet is not bad. It would be better in a province that isn't an occupied province. So if we can actually win the war against them, that'd be a good idea. Maybe worth... what is our ability to build ships? Build some light warships to do some siege duty. 9 ships. 4 light, 5 heavy. Okay, so that'll be a bit of a hard uphill battle to do a naval battle with. But we'll start building a fleet. In an attempt to match their fleet. So that's what we can build in one turn. We probably want a little bit more than that, honestly. Probably want something that looks more like so. So that should all finish the turn after next, and then we can send them over to blockade if the fort isn't moving in our favor at that point. Oh, we can do a prospect for resources. Let's prospect for resources in the mountains. Okay, so they're coming back down. They're retaking their province, which wasn't unexpected. We're going to skip it because they're probably going to win that battle. Yeah, they did. Okay, and they're probably going to win that battle too. That one's a little bit more annoying. I wasn't expecting them to actually go 2 provinces in one go. Okay, so unless the siege has progressed, I'm going to break off from the siege again to go deal with them. Proposal of peace. Oh, so we can see that the Roman camp actually did get finished in time. That's good to see. We'll see what the Roman camp does in a moment. See what this peace deal is. Do the peace deal. So, they're proposing peace, requesting peace. What are their terms? We relinquish our objective, or no, they relinquish their objective on Latium. They give us battle. And they go away. We don't currently occupy any of their stuff. We don't get any of their stuff. We'll have to want to go back to do that anyway. Forget the duration of these peace treaties. They're not particularly long. So what I might do is I think I'll go ahead and accept this, just to get them to go away. Without taking any of our stuff. And then when we're done with the siege down here, we can turn around and go back to deal with them. One problem with them taking their province back is we now don't have enough provinces in Italia Superior to have a province there anymore. It's not a big problem, it's just a slight problem. Okay. This will probably improve once the siege is officially declared not a siege on the next turn. So let's not worry too much about that. We'll just keep people from starving. What do I want here? Worship place? No. No. Probably do the smokehouse here then. Trading would be required. If we had social support, that would be definitely yes. Building up the trading post. Yeah, let's build up the... Oh, actually, No, we'll do straight polar so we can get some a little more culture. If I didn't have a culture building in the culture slot, probably would have gone the trading post here to build up to 6 culture buildings so we can upgrade the regional road to a paved road. Can I afford a second legion? I don't think I can afford, per se, an entire new combat group. Right. A legion, yes, but a full legion army of like 6 or 7 legions, no. So Twitch is asking, do I think I can afford another one? I think I could afford a replacement legionnaire. A replacement legionnaire is definitely plausible. So the fact that we lost our legion there is not too bad. But I think picking up a second army here is not quite viable with our current income. As we can see, we're already quite low on money. So our legionnaire managed to build a Roman camp before he died. It's a Roman camp. Access small fortress gives some bonus supply for free. Can be created by a legion in the field. basically no drawbacks, it's just expensive to build. If you have 3 military buildings in the province, you can upgrade it to a Limes. Limes is, I believe, a tier 2 building, and that's why you need 3 military buildings in the province. So we probably will upgrade that camp at some point. That's the reason we're not losing this province this turn, is we managed to get that fortification in time. Next turn we'll send our fleet out. Actually, I suppose in response to Twitch asking, do I could support another fleet or another legion? I probably could if I wasn't building the fleet to support the legions. I could probably have 2 legions or 2 fleets or a legion and a fleet, but I probably can't afford 3. That makes sense. So we could go well here. It wouldn't actually be a bad idea necessarily to go well here. Might do well here. It'd be a little bit over-focusing on food at this point, I think. Right, because we have enough food in the province. We want this one to be the one that's focusing on food, so let's actually not do well. I think we're just going to do the refresh here, the shuffle here. Because I want, if we come in here, we've got 3 available infrastructure buildings to show up. Woodcutting, or 4. Clay pit, woodcutting, brickworks, wheelmaker. Don't really want woodcutting, don't really want clay pit. That's because clay pit provides stone. It's not a particularly great building besides the fact that it gives stone. Woodcutting is not a particularly great building besides the fact that it gives wood. We can get those from elsewhere. Brickworks is a building that benefits from having access to stone. So we can already in theory have access to stone. So if we had brickworks, the brickworks are really good here. Wheelmaker would also be good here. So I want to re-roll into one of those 2. Yeah, and as Twitch saying, yeah, it makes sense. It's best not to overextend, I've found, because downward slope is very slippery. And we can see to some degree, I've definitely decided we're spending money. We went from like 1,000 money a turn ago to like quarter of that. Yeah, we're going through money. When we go through money quickly. I'd like to go back up to 1,000 again, so we'll see if we can get back up to 1,000. Okay, still in the stable progressing tier. Signed a peace treaty, which made the Sun Eyes go home. Which is a little bit annoying because I have one of our victory cities. Okay, so now this place is under siege. It's making food. So we can swap it over to everyone working. Okay, we've run out of building slots here, which happens if you overfocus on building. So we're going to take the excess people off of building, assign them to food production, so we make more food, so we get more people, so we can have more building slots. Okay, and this province has all the building slots ready to be built. Okay, we pulled woodcutting. I don't want woodcutting. Doubly so because we have woodcutting right across the province border, or the state border in Lantium. So we're already going to get the bonus from lumber either way. So we'll just do a reroll here. Could do granary. I'm not too worried about granary. We'll build save market here. Upgrading the farm doesn't sound like a bad idea. We'll upgrade that farm. This is one of the provinces we're going to specialize as food. We got the monument. How's the siege going? Slowly. Which is one of the reasons we want to build a fleet, so the fleet can come out and support the siege. So it will arrive next turn. And by blocking the harbor here, they'll actually start having starvation problems start to be a problem. Ooh. So they're actually classed as barbarians, so we can do federate barbarians on them, so we will do that. It costs a bit of money. Decisions. Okay, none of the decisions I want. None of the national decisions I want. Okay, let's see what tier we're in after we cycle the turn. Still up at 11. Don't actually need to be quite that high, so I think it's time to start paring back a little bit of the guys we are working in culture to generate more money. So we'll pare you back to money. We should read barbarians, so we just got more people there as well. So put that on money. Pair these guys back to money. Let's not get too carried away, because it's easy for me to get carried away and convert too many guys to money. Cult site. Is more culture. It's worth about as much culture as a citizen working on culture. So if we can build the cult site and get the culture that way, and then we can take them off of culture and put them on industry or something. Tend to be preferential towards passive culture if I can. Okay, siege progress duration is uncertain. It's now in the positives because we now have them under proper siege. Their food stockpile will run out in 8 turns, and they'll start starving at that point. We haven't already reached the walls at that point. We can also, by costing 10 metal, and we have plenty of metal, we can do some naval... No, we can't do some naval support because the Navy isn't big enough. Okay. The Navy was bigger, we could. Okay, where do we not have public works? So we got public works there, there, there. Well, public works are better there, there, than there. Don't have it there, well, have it there. Okay, so you want to go there. Let's send these skirmishers to reinforce the main army. We should grow population-wise the city in 1 turn, which gives us another build slot that we can put towards building. Okay, so they have sallied with their fleet into our superior fleet. Though, our fleet's mainly superior in numbers. So, we're not going to have everything go our way. We are, in fact, losing 1 ship to their fleet. So they lost 5 ships, we lost 2. Their ships, the remaining ships managed to escape back to port. Okay, we're still up in the high tiers. In fact, we went up instead of going down, so I'll swap more people generating culture over to money, because we need money. Well, I need industry as well, but we need money. No, salt mine would be good. Yeah, let's pick up a salt mine. Swap you to money, and then I think we swap all these guys over to industry, right? Could. We don't need that much industry. We want like 51 industry. So the rest of these guys want to go back to making food, so we keep the growth going. They're going to go right back to... All of them are going to go back to making food next turn, to be fair. Okay, so we got 1 slot here. I think I just re-rolled the slot, that's what happened. Oh no, I built a cult site. That's what happened. So we don't want the Pleasure Mansion. Let's upgrade to the Pleasure District. If we were really desperate for loyalty, it's good for loyalty. We're not tier 3 yet, so we're not as Rome worried about it. Quite yet. I'll go Salt House here. Salt House would be expensive because we don't have salt, but as soon as we finish the salt mine here next turn, we'll have salt. We can import the salt from here. And this is one of the things one of the Twitch chatters earlier brought up. The trade can be a little bit confusing. If you have internal trade, so in this case, this province would be needs salt, so it would import salt. You pay money to import. and the province it's imported from receives money for that import. If it's a internal trade route, like this would be, so Campania would be paying, Tiberius is selling, right? So Tiberius would get the normal, someone just imported from you that resource money. But because it's an internal trade route, Campania pays half price. So that's good for us because this province would then be paying less. And this province would be getting the normal amount of money. So we'd basically, from arbitrage, would be getting half the value money-wise there. And here it's saying need. So salt normally costs 4 money to import. If there's no place to import it from, that's fine. The building can still function. You just pay 3 times the cost to import it from the void. So yeah, we want that salt. And the salt house here makes sense to build because we're about to build a salt mine, right? And the salt mine will provide salt. So that normally that would cost 4 to import. The 4 to import's not that bad, right? So importing it from a neighboring state from a neighboring like foreign state isn't that bad. In which case they get 4 gold and you lose 4 gold, but that's fine. In this case, we're going to have an internal trade route, so we're going to pay 2 gold to import it to here, but we're going to be receiving 4 money here. And then that's affected by our commerce bonuses. So things like the crafting district here, which plays 10% per commerce, that 4 gets multiplied by 10%. I think that's the only one right now that's actually providing a commerce bonus. The Rome might. And Rome provides 12% as well. So we get like 22% more on our income there. So that's actually going to be a nice combo. We'll start building a lot more salt houses now that we have access to the salt mine. That's one way to make money early game. The other way is smoke houses. Cattle is a fairly abundant agriculture good, right? So you can make a ranch place, and then you can import it everywhere using the smokehouse. So that this place pays money to another place. If it's interior, you pay half money and you generate money that way. Okay, they've arrived. We're gonna need more. Build a public works. We want to decrease the amount of culture we're making a little bit so we can generate more tax revenue. I'm gonna see if that's enough. I'm gonna overdo it a little bit, but we want a lot more tax revenue so we can support Rome Army 3 here running around building public works and camps everywhere. And we'll cycle it in. Okay, their fleet sallies once again. It's very doomed at this point. We may take losses, but... yeah, we took losses, but they took losses, and their fleet's gone at this point. Traded 2 boats to 1. So yeah, we dropped 6 places, but we only want to be in the top third, right? So we only want to be between 1 and 26 anyway. So that's probably about good. Let's not take more off of culture making for a moment. But you can see the money income has jumped quite a bit from doing that as well. Do Crafters district here. We'll actually slow the construction down a bit because I want more money. Here we got too much construction, so slaves to food, citizens to money. Okay, that province is looking fine. And yeah, you can see their trade port, shipyard, and stuff is not quite working right because we've got them under siege. Siege should be quick at this point. They've got 1 unbreached wall. Once that wall's breached, we'll probably just order the final assault. We got a little bit more money, so we can go ahead and have the Legionnaire here build the Roman camp. I believe you can only build Roman camps places where you don't have existing walls. It's one of the other requirements for it. If that isn't a requirement for it, then it must be like neighboring foreign territory or something. Because I forget the exact requirements, other than it's a tier 1 military building, so you have to have a slot for it. And yeah, I think the rest of our provinces are fine for the moment. Oh, we do have the money. Actually, no, we're about to spend it on building that lime, so let's hold off. Don't quite have that money. And no luck on getting metal in the money trade yet. Decision. Okay, probably ran this part a little bit long, but we went ahead and just defeated our enemies in that war. So now it's time to go find another war because we just won that one. We'll probably go invade Etruskia next. Yep, Siege of Trentium is over and Rome stands victorious. So we'll go ahead and pick up this turn in the next part. If you're watching on YouTube, the next part will be up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, feel free to hang around. I need to go get a new cup of tea so I can keep my throat and nose working right. So until the next part, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part. Bye for now.